Yet another NCAA investigation involving Michigan, but this one a little more on field. The Big Ten received notification from the NCAA on Wednesday that the NCAA is investigating Michigan for accusations of signal stealing. Now, this is very interesting because this is not the same investigation that Jim Harbaugh was suspended for 3 games for earlier. This is something completely different, and this is more of an on-field thing that there's a little more of a time element to, and that makes it a problem. There are 2 problems here, actually, and we'll get into both of them. One of them has a long, complicated solution, and one of them has a very simple solution that can be instituted by the start of next season. So we'll start with the longer, more complicated solution, and that is that the NCAA is investigating a competitive equity issue that could potentially move the line in games now. Now, according to the Big Ten, in a statement they released on Wednesday after Ross Dellinger and Dan Wetzel of Yahoo broke this news, they've notified Michigan State, which is Michigan's opponent this weekend, of what's going on. They've notified future Michigan opponents of what's going on. And that's great. But we all know how long NCAA investigations take. And if this one takes as long as most of them do, there is no resolution this season. There's no resolution for a long, long time. So I don't know that that actually helps anybody in this case because, again, this is one of those things that can move lines. This is something probably, if it were possible, that should be handled at the conference level. But conferences are not equipped to do this. Remember, the SEC used to have its own investigator, but they don't do that anymore. The conferences let the NCAA handle investigation. So the long, complicated solution to this is the NCAA does not need to be running big-time college football. We've known that for a while, but that's especially true in situations like this where there needs to be a central governing body for this, not necessarily the conferences themselves, because in this situation, what if some of the opponents are non-conference opponents? You know, their conference are going to want to know about it too, want to do something about it, but they're going to want to do something quickly again because this is a competitive equity thing. It affects the line, and especially given all the issues since sports books have become legal in most states, this is something that everybody's going to want to deal with and deal with quickly. So this is where, if you wanted the conferences that run the FBS or that make up the FBS and run the college football playoff, if you wanted them to band together and form their own governing body for major college football, that would be a good reason to do it because they might be able to come up with a better set of rules and a better set of processes that would allow them to handle things like this in an expedient fashion. The NCAA is not set up to do that. They're just not. And this issue, it seems small, and sign stealing is a weird one for me because you're giving these signals in a stadium full of thousands of people. So lots of people can see you. You're also on television in front of millions of people. But you notice a lot of teams, when they signal to their offenses and their defenses, they'll put some sort of boards up behind the coaches that are doing the signaling to block it from the fans behind them, to block it from the TV cameras. So the issue is not what you can get from just watching. If you watch it with your eyes and you decipher it, that's perfectly legal. If you happen to see it on a TV copy and you can decipher it, that's perfectly legal. It's, do you send somebody to film the people doing the signs? That would cross the line. So that's the issue. We're talking about that. But we don't know what Michigan did. If Michigan's guilty, you got to be innocent until proven guilty here. The thing is, the case is probably going to drag on long past this season. So you got that issue. And the solution to that is complicated. You know, deciding who governs college football is a big, big, big picture issue, not something that you can decide this offseason. However, there is something you can do this offseason to fix this particular problem now. And it's something that college football should have done decades ago. Put the freaking radio in the freaking helmet. The NFL has had one-way communication between the sideline and a player on the field since 1994. since we were using fax machines, since only rich people had cell phones. That's when they started doing that. That's how long ago an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator could call a play in and the player on the field could get it and relay it to the teammates. That's how long. It's not a financial issue anymore in college football. Everybody's got enough money. Now, I've been told that the biggest issue is getting the helmets certified once you have modified them. You're a multi-billion-dollar industry. Figure that out. That's not a prohibitive issue. Figure it out. The other piece of you're a multi-billion-dollar industry is we don't need to see 5 GAs in 5 different color polo shirts signaling. And then we don't need big boards on the back of the behind the coaches that are blocking the view of the fans with the most expensive seats, by the way. We don't need those. That's stupid. It makes you look amateurish. And I realize you claim to be an amateur sport, but you're not. You're a multi-billion-dollar industry. Put the radios in the helmets, and then nobody can steal the signs. Yes, well, you still have to have signs to alert a player, maybe a cornerback near the sideline, what's going on. Yeah, we talked to Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame about that, where he's adding a sign to have a player commit a penalty on purpose to stop the clock if they only have 10 men on the field. That's the solution because of what happened in the Ohio State game. But we don't need the play going in every time in the complicated fashion that is evolved into in college football. We don't need that. Put the radio in the helmet. You won't have to worry about how long it takes to investigate this because there will be no investigation to be done because nobody will be able to steal it because it will go to the quarterback with the green dot on the back of his helmet or to the linebacker with the green dot on the back of his helmet. Stop making everything so hard. Whatever happens with Michigan will happen. This is just throw that on the pile with the other investigation involving the recruiting stuff. But the solution here to make sure you don't have to deal with this again, you could form an entirely new governing body, and you probably should, but you don't have to do that now. But what you can do is by 2024, when you're making all these other changes to the sport, when a bunch of new teams are entering the Big Ten and new teams are entering the SEC, and you're expanding the playoff, have another new thing. A radio in the helmet. It's 30-year-old technology at that point. It'll work. I promise you can do it. Please do it.